You know, there are some lines from stories that outlive the stories themselves. They're not just dialogue. They're little lanterns we carry with us long after the credits roll or the last page is turned. One of those lines comes from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Dumbledore, standing tall in the Great Hall, says, "Happiness can be found, even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light." I don't know about you, but that line has followed me around for years. It's simple, almost too simple, and yet, the older I get, the more weight it carries. Because let's be honest, darkness is not just something out of fantasy novels. It's here. It's the rainy Monday mornings when you can't drag yourself out of bed. It's the phone call with bad news. It's the quiet loneliness that sneaks in when you least expect it. Darkness shows up in 1,000 disguises. And when it does, happiness feels like the last thing you can find. In those moments, Dumbledore's words don't sound like advice. They sound like a dare. Turn on the light? Where? How? But that's where the magic is, not in the idea of waiting for happiness to stumble back into your life, but in the reminder that you have a hand in it. You can flip the switch. Now, let's pause here, because I don't think Dumbledore was saying ignore your pain. He wasn't telling Harry or us to plaster on a fake smile and pretend the darkness isn't real. No. That would be dishonest, and worse, it would be cruel. Darkness deserves to be acknowledged. It needs to be felt. But the point is, it doesn't get to have the last word. So what does turning on the light look like in real life? Well, sometimes it's small, really small. A cup of tea after a long day, calling that one friend who always answers, stepping outside, even for 5 minutes, just to let the cold air remind you that you're alive. Sometimes it's about creating beauty in the middle of the mess, lighting a candle when the power goes out, scribbling a poem on the back of a receipt, playing music while you wash the dishes. Tiny sparks that feel almost laughable in the face of the dark. And yet, they work. And sometimes turning on the light is harder. It's choosing therapy. It's forgiving someone who hurt you. It's admitting you're not okay and letting somebody else carry part of the weight. That kind of light isn't just a flicker, it's a flame, and it takes courage to strike the match. You see, stories like Harry Potter remind us that light doesn't always banish darkness completely. The Dementors still circle, storms still roll in, battles still happen. But light pushes back. It creates enough space for hope to breathe. And hope, well, that's the beginning of change. Let me tell you a small story from my own life. Years ago, I went through a stretch of months where everything felt like it was unraveling. Work was falling apart, relationships strained, and I carried this heavy fog everywhere I went. I remember one particular evening sitting in a dark room thinking, I don't know how to keep going like this. And then, this sounds silly, but my neighbor's kid knocked on my door holding a plate of cookies they had baked. Not perfect cookies, mind you, a little too crispy around the edges. But when I bit into one for the first time in weeks, I laughed, just a small laugh. But it was light. It didn't erase the problems, but it reminded me the joy wasn't gone forever. Sometimes it arrives in unexpected ways, like overbaked cookies in a child's hand. The point is, light doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to solve everything. It just has to be something. And in that something, happiness begins to return. And isn't that what Dumbledore was really saying? That even in the darkest times, happiness isn't completely lost. It's just waiting for us to notice the switch, however small it may be. I think that's why this line has endured for so many of us, because deep down, we know life isn't going to be free of shadows. But it doesn't have to be hopeless either. The light is always within reach, whether it's in kindness, connection, or just remembering to notice the good things still here. So maybe tonight, if life feels heavy, try this. Turn on a literal light, a lamp, a candle, even the flashlight on your phone. Watch how the room changes. Notice how even the smallest glow pushes back the dark. Then think about what that glow looks like in your own life. Maybe it's a book you love. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's telling someone, I'm glad you're here. Because that's how happiness is found. Not by waiting for it to arrive on its own, but by remembering and choosing to turn it on. So let me leave you with this. Next time you're in a dark place, remember Dumbledore's words. Whisper them to yourself if you need to. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light, and then turn it on in whatever way you can. Thanks for sitting with me tonight. If this little ramble resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a light of their own. And tell me in the comments, what's a quote from a story that stayed with you? I'd love to hear the ones that guide you. Until next time, take care of yourself. And don't forget, the light's always closer than you think.